Hello everyone, so in today's video I'm going to tell you how you can paint a tree very easily. I'm going to take some brown color. You can see in my palette this is a burnt sienna color. Mix it with a certain amount of water like this, and with a certain amount of water and the burnt sienna color just like this, we'll try to draw out the stem of the tree just like this. It should go thin as we move upwards. Similarly, another portion of the tree might be like this. Try to reduce the brush pressure in your hand in order to get these strokes that are thinning down as it moves upwards like this and like this. Now quickly add some cobalt blue color to the previous burnt sienna color you were having. You will get a darker version of brown, as you can see in my palette. With this darker version of brown on this wet paper, add certain depth like this, just to represent the light and shadows, which is very important. Just like this. Do not overdo, only at certain areas you need to do this. Just like this. And then quickly switch to a even more smaller size brush, preferably this one. Take the same color, preferably more of burnt sienna this time, and try to do some smaller branches, maybe like this. Like this. Maybe some over here like this. Okay, some over here like this. Okay, maybe a little bit over here. Just have a look at the strokes. The strokes plays a very vital role over here, like this and like this. Maybe a little bit over here like this. Okay, this side we haven't done anything, so I'll prefer to add a little bit over here as well. The basic shape of the tree is here. Now we can quickly take some green color, the sap green. You can mix some sap green color with lemon yellow on a small size brush like this and apply some kind of green areas like this over here. No need to wait for the stem to dry off. You can just move forward. Try to plan out in your mind what kind of tree you want to do, which areas you want to add this kind of green bushes, leaves and everything. So you need to plan that out in your mind prior in order to start. If you feel like, you can draw it out as well while you are starting with it. So various areas we need to apply this kind of leaves and everything like this. Just follow my hand movements and how I'm moving my brush. I've already told you all what color I'm using, so it's all about brush movements and everything right now. Little bit at the top. Try to always get the lower halves more thicker compared to the upper portions. That's how the grammar of tree usually works. The lower portion being thinner and the upper portion being thinner and the lower portion being thicker. Like this. Like this over here. Maybe somewhat a little bit on this side too. Like this. A slight bit over here. I haven't drawn any branches here, I know that, but that's also a thing. You can draw out the leaves at first and then the branches. If you wish, you can work that way. Okay, a little bit maybe over here, and maybe a little bit over here like this. Now here goes the lighter version of green. We need some darker version of green as well. So quickly I would mix up some cobalt blue color with this sap green and also some burnt sienna all together to get a darker version of green. Cobalt blue, sap green and burnt sienna all together. And with that I'll just apply some darker version of green like this on the lower halves mostly. just like this. Try to do it on all of these sections. Like this. Over here similarly, adding the darker color in all of this. Now I'll take this brush once again with the darker version of brown color that we had made earlier. I'm going to add one section of the tree over here, branch. Like this and like this. Let's wait for a bit, let this paper dry off, then I'll show you the next steps. Now this portion is partly dried off, not completely, partly dried off. Right now what I can do, I can take up some lemon yellow plus sap green mixture once again, and I can continue and add a few amount of details over here, making the tree a much more realistic one with a little bit more of leaves and everything. Love to add a little bit over here. Don't fill up the entire spaces, try to fill up portions of the tree, not the entire tree completely, like this. See, there are a lot of areas in between that I have left empty. That is very important. I am mixing a little bit of burnt sienna with the sap green color just to give an idea of the natural color what we see in the leaves and everything. I'll add a slight bit over here. The small dots are very important. Without the small dots, the essence of the tree, of the small leaves are not going to come up well. So try to use a small size brush and light color for the dots over here that I'm applying right now. I apply a little bit over here. Okay. So I'll just wait for these portions to dry off. Till then what we can do, we can move to the lower half of the painting. I'm not going to make a very detailed painting. I'm just going to show a simple one so that anyone can start with watercolors using this kind of painting. And on the lower half we can add some grasses. I'm trying to keep it very beginner friendly, so make sure you give it a try. And in any case, if you have any confusions while painting it, any kind of question pops into your mind, then feel free to drop in a comment below. I'm adding some lemon yellow to the sap green color right now. Like this. I need to switch to a bigger size brush. Like this. This is lemon yellow mixed with sap green that I am applying right now. Okay. Then we need some darker tones as well. So I might mix the burnt sienna and cobalt blue to the green color, just to get some darker tones like this that I'm applying right now. Okay, adds a very nice touch to your painting. I'll just use some water to blend the edges like this. If you feel with some blue color, blue and green mixture, you can add slight bit of details over here. Try to add different types of colors. It just makes the painting look more and more realistic, like this. And let the water, use a lot of water in your painting, let the colors flow like I'm always trying to do, like here, like this. Now let's get back to the tree. For the tree I'm mixing sap green with cobalt blue and burnt sienna so that we can get a very dark version of green. So the green I'm using is very dark, you can see, mixture of sap green burnt sienna and cobalt blue. I'm mostly applying it on the lower halves like this. Like this. I'll try to apply it a little bit over here also like this. Please be careful whenever you are dealing with darker colors in watercolor, because in watercolor it's hard to rectify if you have made a mistake in your painting or somewhat like that. So preferably be a little careful with darker colors whenever you are using in watercolors. Like this, as you can see, I'm adding a little bit of texture. Not covering up the entire areas, you can still see the lighter color through the darker ones that I've applied right now. So you shouldn't cover up the entire area, only cover up portions. Like this. I'm focusing on the smaller dots more and more right now. Like this. I'm not adding much of darker tones on the upper side because it has the light falling on that side. So try to avoid more darker strokes on the upper side of the tree. This much of details look almost fine to me. But I'll have to do something with the branches of the tree right now. So once again, I'll take up the burnt sienna with the cobalt blue mixture. And I'll draw out the branches over here, connecting it with the leaves right now. So like this, I'm going to draw it out, and quickly with another brush I'll have some water and I'll just dilute the pens a bit like this, slightly diluting the pens. The lower half, it should be smudged like this little bit, and the lower half, since we have a tree, there should be some shadows, so some darker greens on the lower half like this in case of the grasses, like this. And with the same color, the darker version of brown, I'll continue these portions like this, like this. Try to go as much thin as possible, like this, like this, and like this. Now we need a even more thinner brush like this one. Initially adding 1 or 2 dots over here, I thought it was necessary. Now taking the darker version of brown, which is the mixture of cobalt blue and burnt sienna. Make sure you do not have excess amount of water in your brush. It will be difficult for you to give thin strokes like this. So get rid of most of the excess water that's in your brush. You just need a slightly moist brush in order to do this kind of strokes that I'm doing right now. Okay. I'll put a link in the description box below of a free course in watercolor that I'm offering for absolute beginners. If you want to understand the fundamentals of watercolor painting, you can go for that course and let me know if it was helpful for you. So I'm adding small details. Try to make them as thin as possible. That's very important. And as we are done almost with the tree, just with a slight bit of green color, you can take any green, so I won't mention anything. If you feel at some of the branches it is looking very empty, you might add a slight bit of greenery in them like this, or maybe like this. Okay. So I think that's all for today's tutorial. I tried to keep it very simple of how you can simply, in a very easy way, draw out a tree. If you want to add some extra details, then you can surely go for it. Like you can add some strokes like this in the grass, like I'm doing right now. or if you feel like, you can add some rocks over here. Okay, make it, turn this tree into a scenery by adding a background, adding some mountains in the background or something like that. If you would like to show me your paintings that you have made by my tutorial, or adding some of your imaginations too, feel free to just connect with me on Instagram. I'd like to see your works, and do let me know in the comment section below if you love this kind of paintings, or what would you like to see next. And I'll surely come back next week with another this kind of art tutorial.